Om. Gayatri Mahamantra. With your back straight. Om Bhurabhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Deva Sakshat, Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namo Namaha, Akhand Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam, Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namo Namaha, Om Shri Guruve Namo Namaha, Vyas Rupena Avayami, Sthapyami, Dhyayami, Pujyami, Tato Namaskaram Karomi. Shrimed Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 9, verse number 6 and 7. 6 has to catch the threads from the previous class, wherein we were trying to understand a very subtle and an esoteric aspect, that how come this creation is vested within the creator. The intellect, the mind, the past memories, experiences, they all contribute to construct an understanding within a human, along with the sensorial drivers that enable one gather certain inputs of information on tangible terms. Beyond the ambit of these, the mind, intellect, and past recall, along with the sensorial drivers, it is very difficult for a human to comprehend an aspect or a concept or an understanding which does not fall into their ambit. And we are talking about something which is absolute in all terms and respects, absolutely has no relation with the capacity of sensorial drivers along with mind, intellect, and past recall. Nothing to do with them. We have not seen the creator. We have not envisaged infinity. We therefore cannot comprehend at all eternity. We are absolutely enveloped into a confinement of size, age, form. Even if there is no form, even then, we are somehow totally entrapped and enveloped into the size and age, the tenure. Anything going beyond that is going to simply evade our comprehension. And we are talking about the creator, the unseen, beyond any measure and falling into eternity. So, therefore, trying to comprehend the concept and aspects of it, it's really difficult for us. Difficult is too small of a word to be deployed here. I must say, almost impossible. Then why are we wasting our time over here? No, we are not trying to waste our time. Rather, very judiciously, we are trying to approximate the true essence of this creation along with its creator, so that we give all those matters in life their due priority that ultimately shall emancipate us. At present, all our priorities are confined, belittled within the entrapment of one aspect. And what is that? What is visible before me? What am I gathering, gaining, or what am I going to lose? What is mine and what is not mine? That is all. What is my pleasure and what are my displeasures? Beyond that, the list of priorities does not exceed. Whereas for a seeker, not for everyone at all, it's merely for those who have now embarked upon, who have gathered a foothold upon the evolutionary part of their own existence. And they believe that unless they evolve from this present state, they shall never be able to emancipate and go beyond the confinement and clutches of this endless cycle of birth and death. For them, those who want to emancipate, they have to expand their understanding so that it can encompass such subjects which create an alteration into their priority ascertainments. Their priority ascertainments exceeds the limit of pleasure, displeasure, profit and loss, here or nowhere. So when it has to exceed these confinements, and for them to exceed these confinements, it is necessary for them to now try to approximate the understanding of the Creator, of eternity and infinity as well, so that they can equally prioritize those subjects in life which enable them evolve and finally take the final plunge towards emancipation. Because if you have to sell something to anyone, you have to sell, first of all, the understanding about the product. Of course, yes, you try to cook up certain fairy aspects also with that. You try to be more vehement, forcefully assertive, try to take a dreamy and a rosy picture, only for one reason, so that you can arouse the interest within the person who is watching that particular promotional program and can associate with that product and tomorrow become an eligible buyer. For that, things are planned, connived, and projected. Are we doing the same? Yeah, we have to do the same. The subject is different, maybe, but who is gathering these informations? Sensorial drivers through the intellect and the mind. They are the barrier and they are the passage. So, if they have to become a passage, so we have to please, we have to present before them a larger understanding, a larger vested interest, which exceeds this small, mundane part of life, which is endless and yet entrapped. Because why I'm trying to mention this aspect over here, why not directly jump onto the verse? Because a rational mind might question, why are you talking about the creator, the creation, something which we cannot comprehend, something which goes into infinity and eternity? Why waste the time? These precious moments can be otherwise utilized into something which is more creative, something which can raise to for us more meaningful and tangible results. So why waste our energies upon something which falls into a category beyond our comprehension? So that gives the justification to a seeker. You never know till we emancipate the doubt prone mind and highly fragile scintillating intellect siding by this or that logic. They need to be served well. They have to be served with a cuisine which is very well dressed. So otherwise what will happen? Otherwise you never know. Your mind and intellect, they connive to project a doubt before you which holds adequate ground in the light of the present status of the seeker, that you say, let all my journey towards evolution be thwarted. Let it go as an oblation. I'm not any more interested into this. This is waste of time. So it is therefore that we try to bring in those unwarranted or unforeseen aspects which you never know tomorrow become projected before you within yourself when you are trying to ponder, when you're trying to contemplate upon the study of Bhagavad Gita, or for that matter, any scripture pertaining to Brahma Vidya. Having said that, in the previous class, we were talking about the same, how this entire creation is within the creator itself. And an example for that was given from this tangible world, that imagine the sky. The sky also is an indicator to infinity. Yes, of course, if you start drawing an imaginary line upward or front, wherever, can you see the end of it? No. You might say, okay, this line goes up to moon, nothing beyond that. Do you mean to say that galaxy ends there? No, it goes beyond. Okay, let it, the imaginary line, are you not becoming foolish at times to break the shackles of your confinements? You have to transcend into a journey of an imagination that is potent enough to break the shackles or break those chains which otherwise bind you from trying to understand something different, new, expansive. Now imagine if you draw an imaginary line out of you that exceeds and goes up to the solar system and ends there. Do you mean that it should end there? Is there nothing beyond? Much more beyond that. Unseen galaxies. So believe it that sky represents infinity. Okay. Now, if the sky represents infinity, the air moves within the sky. Yes, it moves within the sky. Freely. Yes, freely. Endlessly. Yes, we have heard that now the science has evidence that the wind blows at great speed, enormous speeds at other planets also as well. Okay. So the air moves in the form of a wind endlessly, freely, wherever. But wherever it may be, in whatever form, is it on its own independent basis, or is it encased into something? Yes, encased into something. What is that? Sky. So, this infinite sky comprises within itself the air. The air is within the sky. Sky otherwise has got no direct connection with the air. Air moves within it, but otherwise the sky does not impact the air. Air moves according to its own terms, but it is within the sky. Likewise, see, I've already mentioned in many previous classes that all these examples that we pick from the tangible world in order to give ourselves an understanding will always fall short to the conclusive terms. But yes, of course, they enable us, they facilitate us to reach up to a point where our understanding can expand. So, likewise, this entire creation is within the womb of the Creator, as if the air moves within this space, endless, infinite space, sky. So, likewise, it exists. Okay, having said that, let me bring to you the verse itself. The verse is now there before you in screen on YouTube, probably not on the Facebook, but on YouTube, yes. You can see the verse over here. It is mentioned over the Yatha Akasha Stitaha Nityam Vayu Sarvatragaha Mahan Tatha Sarvani Bhutani Matsthani Iti Upadharaya. So this verse communicates about the same example which a while ago has been shared with you. Now we come down to the most important verse of this day, which is verse number 7, which talks more about the relationship of the creator with its creation and how the manifestation transpires. All happens according to an indication. It says Sarva Bhutani Kaunteya. Kaunte is again a different assignage to the Arjuna. In the light of each and every particular verse, a different assignage is given to Arjuna. At places it is Gudakesh, Parth, Arjun, and over here it is Kaunteya, the name of his mother, which also means one who can invoke divinity. So the verse says, Sarva Bhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamakim Kalapakshaya Punahetani Sarvani Visrijami Aham. The verse wants to convey Arjuna, Kaunteya, within me, through me, but you understand it both ways. Within me, through me, the nature, Prakriti. Is the nature the right word? No. The literal word for Prakriti in Hindi may appear as nature, but in Sanskrit it has a larger context which exceeds that and goes down to the entire delusory world. I'm not saying illusory world, delusory world. So, which means in the right and the most apt word has to be picked up from Sanskrit, that is Maya. The same word as in Hindi, also the same Maya. The delusion which is cast. Through me and within me is this delusory creation, which further facilitates for the manifestation of all the rest. What is among all the rest? Within all the rest is the entire tangible and the intangible dimensions that comprise as creation, whether it's at nanoscale, whether at the scale of a bacteria, virus, wherever in whatever form, gases, all of them are part of the creation, intangible in several terms, and also they have a tangible aspect as well. So now there are three steps to the creation. One is the creator, who is the source and within whom everything exists. The first step it triggers is to unleash its nature, its Maya, Prakriti, its Maya, the delusory mechanism, the mechanism that deludes. Now, the second word thing is out of that delusory trigger, then further triggers a third step, which is the manifestation of the entire creation. It is like, if you really want to understand it more tangibly, it is like a spaceship. A spaceship on its voyage goes in the space. It is being carried, for example, going to moon. It is being carried by a rocket. The rocket shall propel to a limit where it enables the spaceship or the vehicle which has to land into the moon, and beyond that, then it will disengage. Further onwards, that vehicle will travel on its own and land on the surface of moon. Okay, all these aspects we have very well seen on the television. Once that vehicle lands onto the moon safely, it opens up and there is another vehicle which unfolds from it and disembarks to now move upon the surface of the moon in order to conduct its parts of experiment, to take certain pictures, videos, soil samples, rock sample, whatever. So in furtherance, these are three steps: the rocket to the space, the vehicle on the moon, and then moon and the vehicle then further on the moon, it unfolds, unleashes another vehicle to conduct its assignment. Likewise, the creator, it from its own self, from its own womb of infinity and eternity, it unleashes Maya, the delusory mechanism. That delusory mechanism further then unfolds its tangible and intangible aspects of the creation, which is Sarva Bhutani. So now you understand the creator, the source itself, which is the infinity, eternity, then the delusory mechanism, Maya, and then from delusory mechanism springs out the creation, further intangible and intangible terms. So now we understand it. Here, one of the learned scholars have very rightly mentioned, you might try to ask questions in between. What is the relationship then left between the creator and its delusory mechanism, and delusory mechanism in furtherance with its own creation? The learned scholar has very rightly mentioned the relationship between the creator and the delusory mechanism is based upon a fundamental which is termed as Vivarta Upadan Karan. Translated into English shall mean that the source has no connection, it's not impacted by its own creation. It creates its creation and then remains independent. The delusory mechanism comes out of the creator's will, and after that, delusory mechanism works as it has been programmed, but it cannot impact in any way the creator. Whereas the delusory mechanism, when it unfolds further in the form of its creation, is so intrinsically bound that creation can have all impacts upon the delusory mechanism. Maya, which unfolds further into the creation can impact the Maya, the delusory mechanism. Now, to be rightly understood, the delusory mechanism creates for this planet, for the sky, air, fire, planet, water, everything, and they further can impact the delusory mechanism, as we also see in the most outer forms by the humans, how the soil, water, and the air and the thoughts are contaminated by misuse. So, the creation itself unfolds its mechanism, which further unleashes the existence in tangible, intangible form, and existence and the delusory mechanism, they transact with each other, they have impact. Whereas the creator remains absolutely independent, totally immune, has no relation. Okay. It might take a while for us to understand. I'm not getting into an example of Swami Ramakrishna Paramahans and Totapuriji Maharaj, because that also further entails into a different explanation, which an English speaking or an English understanding mind may not be easily able to associate with. But I would certainly like to go get on to the subject by making a mention that this delusory mechanism, according to the scripture, has its age. How much is the age? It runs into billions and billions of years. And what after that? After its age, then it is again swallowed by the creator or goes back to the creator, the one that is the source itself of infinity and eternity, the Brahma, the creator. It goes back to it and then remains within it till a stipulated period of time, until it is ripe enough to re-manifest in the same way as it was before its dissipation or dissolution into the creator. Everything falls into place the same way, everything else. So the term is called as kalpakshaya. Kalpakshaya, which we also term as pralaya, total dissolution. Dissolution of the entire existence in all terms, in absolute terms. Now, this is mentioned into scriptures. I haven't observed it, you have not observed it, because our age is not even an infinitesimal part of a decimated fraction of the total age of this creation. Creation means one particular age of one particular kalpa. How many kalpa it has passed through, you and me have no idea. Scriptures mention about that, but it's very difficult to measure and calibrate even to any extent the eternity. We cannot. But let us understand that within this womb of eternity, this particular creation, entire cosmos, has been existing in times unknown and has been undergoing total dissolution and then again remanifesting itself in the same way, coming from that same source which never gets impacted by its own creation, but creation further unfolds into a design which is tangible, intangible. That manifestation and the source of creation, which is the illusory mechanism Maya, they both transact with each other, and after an age, when the nature shall lose its fertility, again the time comes when, like the soil shall lose its fertility, must be left fallow, leave the land fallow in order to regain and regather its fertility. So likewise the same principle applies to the entire creation. When it seems that it is going to lose its fertility, all its forces that connive to bring forth the creation have now ceased to gather the same energy. It has to then undergo total dissolution into the womb of the endless infinity and eternity, for then to remanifest again after a stipulated period of time. Now, a question comes, because in according to the scriptures, another term which we give to this delusionary mechanism, the Maya, is of a mother. Yeah, mother, because it is the source of all creation. Yes, let us understand that the creator itself is totally immune. It does not intervene at all. It takes no part at all. It has programmed a mechanism and it's working on its own free intelligence, absolutely free. We term it as the mother. The second level of the creation, which is the delusory mechanism, is termed as the Maya, Mahamaya, mother, the mother. Now, that mother goddess in all forms which we see in our ancient Indian scriptures as idols, is a symbolic representation of that delusory mechanism itself. It is revered into our scriptures. We worship it because unless it gives the passage, one cannot emancipate. The passage has to be gathered from the mother, which is the delusory mechanism. It holds its own prominence. Now comes an aspect, if it has been considered as a mother, do we also need to convey that one that we revere as mother has got an ignorant aspect as well? Because everything which is unmindful, demonic, that also is a part of that creation. Divinity alone is not the part of the creation. Even demons are equally a part of it. Yes, you're right about that. That is why the learned ones have mentioned that this nature has two aspects. One is avidya maya and one is vidya maya, which means it has two aspects. One is the dark one, the ignorant one, and the bright one, which leads towards salvation. So why do we have this dark one, the tamoguna, the inertia? Why do we have that? Why don't we have the satoguni, the one which is the wise one? Everything has a role to play, its own prominent role to play. When we observe the ornaments, especially made out of gold, do you mean to say they are made out of pure gold? No. There has to be a mandatory portion of a contamination in every ornament so that it can stay. Otherwise, the gold, it is highly collapsible, that gold will not be able to stand alone in the form of an ornament. It is too soft, will get twisted. So for it to stay and retain its form, it is necessary for us to introduce into it some sort of contamination, which is ignorant in other terms. I'm just trying to explain. Likewise, within a human also, there are aspects that lead towards procreation. There are aspects that leads towards one to undergo some inertia to take rest. The body needs rest. The physical dimension cannot sustain a prolonged working, endless prolonged working. So that inertia also has a role to play. Inertia alone is demonic, but inertia in its rational proportion form is mandatory for the existence and the journey towards emancipation to keep moving. So it is necessary. Otherwise, if there is no tamas, nobody would be interested for even procreation. Nobody would like to have procreation, would always term it as a bondage. Why undergo bondage and why become a source to bondage for anyone who has not manifested yet? These aspects are very carefully to be understood. So, even inertia, even tamogun is necessary for this creation to keep moving. The satoguni sadhak, seeker, increases, enhances the proportion of satoguna in comparison to tamoguna. Tamoguna recedes and satoguna ascends more and more. But it remains, tamoguna remains. It should remain. Otherwise, the journey of the satoguni sadhak to evolve further shall equally cease to move further, any further. Overexertion of the physical dimension shall shatter you apart. You shall not be able to conduct any spiritual pursuit, no exercises, no sadhana, nothing. So it is necessary. So avidya maya, the dark part of it, has to facilitate the bright part to keep moving, to sustain through. So both have an aspect. So having understood now this aspect, we now conclude from this particular verse that within the womb of this infinity and eternity, a system is propelled, we can term it as the delusionary mechanism by the name Mahamaya. And out of that Mahamaya then further propels the creation in its tangible and intangible forms. The creator, it reveals its plan and then remains immune beyond any impact. Whereas the delusionary mechanism, which further unfolds into tangible and intangible creation, they both transact with each other. They are certainly impacted by the acts of each other. And when the creator resolves after a period of time that my creation cannot sustain, it has lost its fertility, then the moment comes for total dissolution termed as pralaya, kalpa, that's the tenure, and the entire creation goes back to the creator who otherwise is unimpacted, not concerned, to re-manifest in the same form again after a stipulated period of time. Seems like a story unfolding at an imaginative end. May seem. But let us not forget, it comes with total mathematics which has been calculated by all those people, all those known, unknown great scholars who were perfect and precise enough to calculate the movement of the sun, stars, galaxies, even during those times when the humans were living into caves in other parts of the world. Or maybe the humans existed or not, no one knows. During those times, they were able to discover and unravel before themselves this science. They are the ones who have disclosed these secrets. They are the one who have given us a tenure of this entire creation to manifest and then undergo total dissolution. So you cannot easily brush aside this aspect by saying it is mere an imaginary, futile exercise. No, you cannot. Having said so, we have a class on every second and last Sunday of the month at 9 a.m. in English and 7:30 a.m. in Hindi. Till then, Om ही सत्य है, Om ही सत्य है, Om ही सत्य है.